Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to your live Investment Dominator Q&A call. And my name is Warren Davis, and we are here to, as you can see on my screen, hopefully get your questions answered. So we want to say happy Monday to you and hope that you're having a good day so far. It has been a very good day for me. I'm enjoying my retirement time so far and just staying real busy. Sometimes wonder how I had time to have a job, but of course, we have those priorities. So just want to say good evening to you and hope that you send me some questions that we can answer for you. I'll see if right now there's none that are coming through right away, but I want to do a quick sound check and screen check. This is, as I state, this is Monday. This is December the 16th. And of course, we're about 1 week away from Christmas time, and hope that you're enjoying the season and getting ready for Christmas. If those of you that are there, if any one of you could just give me a quick, you can hear me okay and you can see my screen okay. You should be seeing my Your Questions Answered screen. And what you do, let's see, I'm trying to see the names that are on here. If you're brand new, you want to send in your questions or you want to make a comment, you can just type that into the questions box here and hit send. Again, don't worry about raising the hand because I normally don't see the hands raised. I just go by the questions that come through and that pop up on the screen. So that's how you would send in your questions. And we're going to get right into them today. And as I normally do, if there are any questions I couldn't answer on this past Thursday, which I think I got all the questions on Thursday, but just in case, if I did not, I normally have those questions written down and listed so that I can get them first thing on our call today. So there's a few of you on the call, and I'm hoping you can see my screen and we're ready to get started. So one of the first questions that I'm going to answer today actually came from a young man named Leonard, and he was asking about how to connect or foster relationships with builders. So how to foster or build relationship with builders. And I'm gonna best answer that question by using a diagram. So his question is, how do we connect or start relationship with the builders for land that we have for sale? Now, I don't know if some of you may not be familiar with this. This is a strategy that some individuals employ in their business. They actually go after builders and they try to connect with builders. And that's a good strategy. It's just that for what we do, I'm going to answer it best by showing you, we use everything on our Investment Dominator course and using the Investment Dominator software has to do with our LPG deal flow. And this is what we base our systems on that we teach with Jack Bosch organization. We don't normally, though that is a very, I guess, a good business practice and it's a good strategy, I can't tell someone, so Leonard, if you're on the call, I can't really tell you how to foster or build a relationship with a builder because, I don't do that. I usually use the LPG deal flow. First, I select the target market, which you're trying to determine what counties you're going after. You get a contact list of landowners and you mail these letters and you talk to sellers, right? This is our deal flow, and we get land under contract. We do preliminary research. If they come back and say they want an offer, then we mail out those offers or the option agreements, depending on what we decide to use. And once we get someone who says, I accept your offer, we then come back and we open escrow and do a detailed research. So then at this point, we're marketing the property. And we simply put our properties out on as you all know, onto a website or onto, some free medium, Zillow, Facebook Marketplace, etc. And we're marketing our property. Now, this is, I guess, where you would employ the strategy of contacting all of your builders. And for me, if I did know a builder, he or she would just go into my my buyers list, and that's how I would basically contact my builder. It would actually be, they would just be another buyer on my list. And I would either formulate an email to them to let them know what properties I have under contract. But so really, and I don't want to throw that in there yet, but so really we're marketing the property, and I guess this is where you would contact the builders, and then we sell the property hopefully to one of those builders or to another customer. So I really can't tell you how to foster a relationship with a builder or how to contact builders, because I don't employ that strategy. Okay, but like I say, that if it works for you, hey, go for it. Share it with me, and I'll see if we can, share some part of it with everybody else. Okay, so that's the first question. Make sure. Let's see here. Our next question, kind of I guess it is an Investment Dominator related question. We try to keep the questions as much as possible, Investment Dominator related, but we do answer, all kinds of other business questions as well. But we want to keep it around Investment Dominator functionality. So if you have any questions whatsoever, those of you that are on with us tonight, just go ahead and type those in, and we will get them answered for you. So our next question was, how do we calculate? And this is a general question that came in, I think it came in through our ticket system. How do we calculate or convert parcels that are less than 1 acre from into square feet? So instead of having an acreage size, you might want to convert that into square feet. Now, the reason being, just so you have a little background here, some of our buyers, when they call you up and they ask you about a land that you might have under contract, if let's say you had this, well, you see this prospect here, okay, if we were to get this piece of land under contract, this is less than an acre, so it's 0.69 acres. So that's not even 3/4 of an acre, but it's a little over half acre. But the point is that some of our buyers want to know what's the square footage of that particular parcel. And so we do have, and this is just one metric. I mean, you can go into Google and you can look up many different metrics that can help you convert. This is just one that I know about that, let me see, why didn't that give me what I was looking for? Maybe I had something missing. Oh, yeah, I had the H missing in my HTTPS. There it goes. Okay. So this is just one particular metric. What's going on here? Okay, here we go. Metric conversions. And we don't need to know about Fry's orange juice. But anyway, if you want to pull up something just like this, which is a metric conversions area to acres. So you put in the acres, and let's say it was 0.69 acres, right? And as you can see, it just converts that to feet. This was something that I just learned over the course of the last few years as I've been working with builders. A lot of builders want to know the square footage. Also, some folks with a real estate background, I guess they approach land just like they do houses, and they want to calculate acres, how many feet per acre is that piece of property selling for. So, that is something that we normally go on and do. And if you went into your Investment Dominator record and we edited that record, you can see here that we have a place. Okay, and that's already in here. 30,056 square feet is 0.69. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Investment Dominator, let's say we have this one here, 0.28. Let's see if that one's been converted. Okay, that's been converted as well. Let me find one. I'm thinking that 0.46. Let's see if that one's converted. Okay, I guess that was the first one. Okay, so let's say we have this record here and we didn't know what the square footage was. So if I came in here and I saw it was, I had 0.46 acres, I thought at one time this would convert to square feet. But it doesn't. Okay. So I believe the way it goes is let's look back here. I think the way it goes is if we have square footage, okay, I can't get rid of that. Okay, so we have square footage, and we know 0.46 is equal to 20,037. So I think if we have square footage, Investment Dominator will convert to acreage, and that's what I want to test here real quick. So if we have the square footage and we hit enter, see, yeah, Investment Dominator does convert to your acres, your acreage, but it just doesn't take acres back to square feet. So you need something like this type of converter. So it doesn't matter what it is. If it's 0.72, it comes back and it'll give you 3,163 feet, square feet. So that's how I would convert that, and I would encourage you to go on and start doing that if you have property that's less than an acre and you put this in your record. And the only reason that is that you might want to do that is because when you get that land under contract and a buyer asks you, well, hey, what is 0.46 acres in square feet? How big is that? Then you can come back and tell them, 20,037 feet. Okay, so that's just to give you a little idea, and this is the one metric conversion that I know that works real good and it's easy, and so this will be recorded and you can have that to look at. Okay. Okay. Yes, Dan, I do agree. I do agree. A bi-directional conversion would be a great addition to the program. If you wanted to make that suggestion, Dan, we would appreciate that. You can just come up under help, just so you know how to, and just suggest that feature. Suggest a feature with the suggest a feature function in Investment Dominator, and this is something that goes right in front of Alex and company, and they will begin to look at that and see how soon they could implement that into the Investment Dominator. I think that would be a great addition. Okay, here, let's see, let me make sure. We are seeing, let's see, screen number 2 clean. Yep, that's it. Okay. Okay, so as I say, we do with this group, we've been getting a nice combination of Investment Dominator related questions specifically, but we've also been getting questions about, that are more business related. This next question is definitely business related, and It's how to test the county and determine, this again is a general question. So how to test the county and determine if it is worth staying with that county or going after that county to actually market to that county. So as you know, one of our goals as we do our testing of counties, if you were to look at the LPG deal flow here, you know, selecting a target market here, the very first step that we do. So we're going to test our counties and make sure that, you know, we have some kind of a response. So the question was asked, you know, well, okay, when you test a county, how do you determine if that test is a viable test and if you should continue or go after that county and you know, start to market to that county? And that's a very good question. And I'm gonna tell you, there's no perfect answer per se, but I can just tell you a general, like some general figures I may look at or percentages I may look at to determine if I want to stay with the county once I test it. So I might send anywhere from 500 to 700. Sometimes I'll send 500 to county A, 500 to county B, then I'm working with county C, 500, and then I might swing back around to county A again and do another 500. And I'm hoping by the time I get back, that'll be like 3-week period of time. By the time I get back to that county, I started to see some records or some folks that are calling in and saying, hey, well, I'd like to see an offer on my property. So what numbers would I look at? So after sending, so this is one particular test I did with one particular county about probably about 5 months ago. So I sent like 1,100 neutral letters over the course of 2 weeks to one county. And the only figure I don't have here is exactly how many calls did we get back, because that's handled, you know, in our company, that's handled by Pat Light. So I'll just put up some numbers here. So I sent 1,100 neutral letters. Okay. To county A over the course of 2 weeks. And then I just went on with my regular business. So I don't know how many calls did we get from the neutral letter. That's the only thing that I don't know. I'm estimating probably anywhere from 100 to maybe 120 calls, I would hope, from 1,100 records. That may be right around the 10% arena that we might want to see, which I'd be satisfied with that. But out of that, we did receive 11 offer requests. So 1,100 neutral letters, we received 11 offer requests back from that, which equates actually to right about 1%, I guess, right? 1%, and the cost of that for us, I'm estimating might have been around $750, $800, something like that, to send those out. So from the 11 offer requests, okay, from the 11 offer requests, we received 3 contracts. So, if you look at the 11 contracts, that comes out to be right around 27% response, right around that 26-27% response from the number of offer requests. We got 3 contracts, so 3 people said, hey, I accept your offer, and we marketed those 3 properties. Now, out of the beautiful thing, see, out of those 3 properties, we sold 2. Okay, and I should have the numbers for exactly what we sold them for, but you know, I would estimate that we pay anywhere from $1,100 to maybe $2,000 for a lot of our properties that we purchase and or that we get under contract. Some are more. We closed on a property not long ago where we as a matter of fact, just last week we closed on a property where we purchased the property for $7,800, and then we sold the property for $35,000. So, and the man took his money into the attorney just last week. And excuse me, we had it up for $35,000, but we ended up with, you know, getting it for around 30. So, you know, we were satisfied with that kind of a profit. But the whole point is to get 3 contracts out of a total of 1,100 records, and then to be able to sell 2 of those properties. That is a county that we're definitely staying with, and we did stay with, and we continue to deal with that county. So this, you know, the numbers are not always like this where it's so straightforward. Sometimes we may get less, you know, fewer calls, and we may get fewer offer requests, but we still get a few contracts. You know, obviously this number here is what I'm concerned with. I want to get contracts. I want to get people that say, I accept your offer, so that we can put that land up for sale. So even if I go into a county and I might put 2,000 neutral letters out there, and I might end up with maybe 6 or 7 offer requests, but out of those 6 or 7 offer requests, I get my 3 or 4 contracts. Now, you know, for some people, they may say, well, that's not enough. For us, that would be enough. You know, that we can get some property under contract, we go for 6 months, and if we can sell it within that time, you know, we made more than our initial investment back. Because I said it's like $750 to $800. So you have to kind of play with the numbers. And remember, please keep in mind, this is about sending out, you know, the law. You know, Jack talks about the law of large numbers. So a lot of folks are trying to kind of circumvent this part of the business, but it just takes a lot of neutral letters. You're going to send out a lot of neutral letters, and if you're taking calls yourself, you know, you may have to take you know, a few hundred phone calls, and then you'll get some you know, after you do your analysis, you'll get some property under contract where, you know, after you do your offer request, and, you know, you end up with your contracts, and once you end up with your contracts, you sell your properties. So I hope that gives a little more, little context to what you might be looking for in terms of numbers, and don't be discouraged, you know, if you're not seeing a county that's bringing in big numbers, but if it is around a large metropolitan city, you know, let's just say if it were around somewhere like Austin, Texas, or Denver, Colorado, or Phoenix, even if the county doesn't appear to be doing that much, the fact that you're around a major growing city, you can still get some good deals out of that, even though your numbers may not be really high in terms of customers calling you. But if you're going to a county that you've never done before, you know, you might have to play with those numbers a little bit. You may not want to pursue that county, and that's perfectly okay, because there's plenty of counties out there for you to look at. Okay, so that was a long-winded answer for that one, but I figured it was important because there's a lot of you that are right at that process, or right at that part where you're doing your analysis, and you're trying to determine these counties that you're testing. How do you tell if they are good ones to go after? So I'm hoping that did help you guys a little bit. We had another. This is back to Investment Dominator now. How to organize files. Okay, pending preliminary research. Say these are people that are looking for offers. Okay. Offer request. Oh, how do you do it? By county and by zip code. Okay. All right. County field, and so we're looking for a specific county. So we know we look for a specific county, and we want to see all of the people that want offer requests, that are looking for offer requests. So if I look at all of my offer requests here, let's just say I want to search. So I'm going to create a search for anyone in pending preliminary research, and let's say is in, I want to say Duval County. So let's look at another county here that's not showing up on my screen. Okay, let's look for all of the ones that are pending preliminary research and are Duval County. So in order to answer this question, how do we organize and how do we pull that kind of search? It's using an advanced search. And so this is not something that's new, but not everyone knows about how to do an advanced search. So your regular search, which is this, using this blue box here, you search by only one field at a time. So I could search by, I could search by county, and I could bring up all of the county, that are under Duval, right? But as you can see, that brings me back prospect records as well as my pending preliminary research records. So the whole point is, that's the reason why we use an advanced search, is because we want to be able to search on multiple criteria. And so I'm going to come in to advanced search. I'm going to search by county. Let's see. There we go. By county equal to Duval. Now, in order to search using multiple criteria, I come over here to this add rule, and then I want to say the status, search my status field equal to pending preliminary research. That gives me this particular, so this is an and. It defaults to and. Now you can select or if you want, but the select criteria here defaults to and. So it's saying my county is equal to Duval and my status is equal to pending preliminary research. Now I can choose to save this search, and I want to do that. And I'll just call it WD County 01. Okay, so that's a county search, and I say okay. So now it has saved my search, and I want to come up here now, and I just want to execute my search. So here now I brought back all Americans. You notice only one page here. That's all that's there showing, because these are all of the records under pending preliminary research where the county is Duval. So that's one way, and using the advanced search, you can search multiple different criteria, and it makes it so much easier. Let's just say if we wanted to add to that search, so we come back into advanced search, and because we saved our search, now we can just call that search back up. WD County 01 was the search, right? And it comes back and displays the criteria here. So let's say I want the county equal to Duval, I want pending preliminary research, and I want to add another rule because I want to make sure that these are people with phone numbers. So I want to look for the primary phone. Let's see. Yeah, the primary phone, And I just want to say is not empty. So there's something in that particular phone number field, all right? So I want to update my search. Make sure you update your search. And the system is going to save this search for me now. So now when I execute the search, okay, that decreases my number that I had before. If you go into any of these records, you'll see that they're Duval County, obviously pending preliminary research, and everyone in here, if I were to edit that edit that record, you can see everyone in here has the primary, has a phone number. So it just gives you an idea of how you can do advanced searches. And trust me, this is a very, very powerful tool if you want to select data, because look at all these different fields that you can select on. You can have dates, sold on a particular date, or you can sell by, what certain properties that are in certain cities. It's just like the power of this particular advanced tool, advanced search, is really, really extensive, and it gives you a lot of flexibility to pull data. So that's how we would use advanced search. Have any questions on that? Go ahead, type them in, and we'll see if we can do our best to get them answered. So now we're going back to, looks like we're going back to a business question here from Jerry. Okay, this was actually from our last webinar on, I think it was last Thursday, or it might have been even last Monday. So regarding offers sent and customers accepting those offers or renegotiating. Okay, so Jerry has a question. Oh, should we permit the customer to cross out an offer? Okay. To cross out an offer, initial it, sign, and send it back to us. Okay, so when we were first in the business, we would allow this to happen all day, because we want to get some land. We want to get the people saying, I accept your offer. So under the offer request, if we generate documents here and we look at the offer, what Jerry is actually referring to is, let's just say, this net to seller amount here. The question is, are we going to allow them to cross out this net to seller amount? Just initial this and then send this back, sign this document as a seller and date it and send it back to you. So that's a very good question. And initially, we would usually allow the sellers to do this. And in some cases, we still will allow them to do this. But now, here's what I would do. Once I get the crossed out, initialed, and I get a signed contract from them, just to be clear, I will go back in, update my system with the actual offer that we agree on, and I'll make a clean copy of this, and I will send this back to the seller. And they can take their time and sign it, sign my second clean copy based on what we've agreed on. They can date it and they can send it back to me, so that while I have their property under contract, I have a clean copy that says exactly what we agreed on, and it's also updated in my system that this is what we agreed on. So some people would let that stand as an actual contract, which it is a contract. But here's what we found happened in a couple of occasions. When we allowed the seller to do that without sending them back a clean copy, sometimes the seller's counter offer may not be very legible because they're gonna cross this out. They're gonna write their number in to and initial it, right, based on our conversation and what we agree on. But if they're not very legible, sometimes certain numbers can look like other numbers. So there can be some confusion down the line, 4 or 5 months down the line, as to when it comes time to close on this property, as to what we actually agreed upon. That's one reason why I will let them initial it, send it back to me signed, then I'll create another clean version, sign it myself, and send it back to them for them to sign the clean version. All right, then I'm going to hold that in my system. It's also updated in Investment Dominator, as the, let's just say if it was offer request, and let's say if we had put out an offer, whatever we agree on gets updated in Investment Dominator as well here in our offer amount, and I generate another offer letter for them. So that's one reason why I do it, because sometimes their writing is not legible, and usually we supply them back an offer which has our signature on it, right? Well, some sellers, quite savvy. What if they took whatever amount we had allowed them to cross out and write in? What if they took another version and they crossed out that number and they wrote in a different number? And that number has our signature on it, because remember, we sign it, right? The seller signs it and we're going to sign it, and they make a copy of that, but it's got a different number. So when it comes time to close with them, we want them to sign the warranty deed. Like, let's say when we get a buyer, we get this under contract, and then we get a buyer for this property, and we want them to sign the warranty deed. They could, months down the road, they could send us another copy of this contract where it was crossed out, they initialed it, it's got our signature on it, and the amount is different than the amount we originally agreed on. And so now it's about, okay, your memory, right? But in any case, they've got a contract here with our signature on it. This could hold up in court because they have a copy of that. And I know they may not be being ethical, but that is the reason why I will send back a clean version of this document, have them sign that clean version, and then I discard the previous one that had the cross out and their initials. All right, because I want to have a copy of where we agreed on the same price and we both signed that document. So that is my recommendation. You can allow it initially for them to cross that out, but then I personally would make sure I had them sign another version. Okay, people, hope that brings some clarity with that particular subject. If you have any questions or concerns about that, go ahead and send them to me now. This is a kind of a quiet group this evening. I'm not getting many questions, at least via over the airways here. Now, we did have some questions that came in, I think, like I said, via our ticket system. This next one is pretty straightforward, pretty easy to answer here. So, how to use the view function in Investment Dominator. And this is pretty easy. Some of you might might have used this before, and they're talking about this function here called view. And all this view does is it controls what I'm seeing, the fields that I'm allowed to see here in the Investment Dominator. That's all the view does. So it's nothing, it's not rocket scientry. It's just straight view. So if I select view, you notice it says I have the ID, the status, the name, state, county. Those are the fields that are checked. The APN, the size, and the market value, and liens. All right. So if I cancel that, you can go back here and see it's the ID, the status, the owner, the state, APN, just all the fields that I can actually see. And if I wanted to see more fields, I could just select another box here. And when I save that, it will, let's see, which ones did I select there? Which one? It's a type. So, okay, I said select type. So what I think I want to do here, I might F5 and so I should be seeing type. Okay, here it is, type individual, okay, or company. So it allows me to view whatever data I want to view on this screen. And that's basically all the view does. So either I can deselect this if I want to go back, or I can reset it to the default values. But either way, if I hit save, as you can see, my type field went away immediately. And that's basically how we use type. Okay? Yeah, any other questions that you guys have that you want me to answer you while we're on this call? We're getting down to right around, we have about 15 minutes left. And we'll take another Investment Dominator related question here if you have one. Glad that you all are on the call. There's a fewer number on the call with us this evening than normal. I'm just taking that as the time of year it is, and people might be busy doing other things. But those of you that are here, there's quite a few in the room. So if you want to get anything clarified or answered, go ahead and type it in there for me. We did have a question from an Amber. This was, I think, this past Thursday. Clarity regarding importing records into Investment Dominator using letterprinting.net. And let me see what the question is. So, okay. All right, Dan, good question. I'll get that as soon as I look at, well, I can answer that now, and we'll take Amber's question right after I answer this one. So Dan says, back to contract changes. Don't both parties have to initial changes before the contract is binding? Not necessarily even initial both changes. No, that doesn't really have to happen. What's been happening, okay, have to initial changes before contract is binding. So what's been happening, which that might be a good idea to incorporate, Dan, into your business, and I think that's a good idea to even incorporate in my own business, because if that were the case, where we both had to initial this amount, that would, I guess that would clarify, that would, say, okay, we have a meeting of the minds, because you see your initials or the seller's initials, and you have our company, our initials that we would have on there as well, or your initials. But what's been happening is the folks have been allowing the seller of that property to be the one to cross out this amount, write in the amount that we agree on the phone as we're talking to them, and then initial that amount. And then, of course, the seller signs it down here, down at the bottom, signs this contract and sends it back to us. Now, for us, we've already put our initial on this contract, or not our initial, we've already put our signature on the contract saying, hey, this is what we're willing to purchase this property for. And we have a conversation with them over the phone, and they, of course, change it. So the contract is binding as long as we have a seller's signature and we have our signature from our company saying this is what we'll purchase your land for, and then we have those two dated. That's actually what makes the contract binding. We just allow the seller to put their initials and then sign their name and send it back to us, because, like I say, we were excited about getting those famous words, I accept your offer, and we wanted to make it as easy for them as possible. And so we've learned over the course of years that things can get very fuzzy. We're talking, we have 6 months to close on this property. And sometime between the time they change the particular net to seller amount and when we actually find a buyer and we decide to close on the property, things can get kind of fuzzy. And so that is why I'm recommending that you create a brand new document and keep it clean and send it back to them and make sure that's the document that everybody has a meeting of the minds on. Okay, good question. Thank you. So Amber was asking, let's see, we're at 48 minutes into the call. So Amber was asking if you have, in terms of importing, and if you have imported, let's say 1,000 or more records, and you only want to send 200 or so to letterprinting.net, how do you do that? So this is a common problem, or not, I shouldn't say problem, but it's a common situation that I've seen with a lot of the new folks with Investment Dominator. Some are importing into, and that's putting records in prospect status. They're importing thousands of records, maybe like 16, 18,000 records at a time. And basically they only want to send out 200 records a week, or maybe 300 records a week, or 500 records. So that can be done, but the question she's asking, how do you do that efficiently out of the Investment Dominator? So what I'm going to recommend, if you have that, let's just say that, on this page, I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 records showing here. We can have, I think, let's say 10 or whatever, but let's just pretend that I've got 1,000 or 2,000 records here, and I only want to select and send out 200. Well, I'm going to go in, and I can either go in over here and check all, the records I want, which is crazy. I mean, that's completely slow. What I would do is I'd come up here under search, and I want to do the property ID range selection. And what you're going to use is this property ID here. I'll uncheck these. And let's just, say, because Investment Dominator puts this in ID order. So if you've got 2,000 records, that came in one import, these are all going to be numerically in line one at a time, right? So I'm just going to pretend I'm selecting 2,000 or 200 records here. So I want records 265 to 269. All right, we know that's only 4 records, but we're pretending it's 200 records. So I'm going to search. I'm going to bring back those records. Now, Investment Dominator has a search criteria. It has brought back your records. In this case, it would be 200 records. You want to say select all. So you select all those records, and then you simply want to export those records to a .csv file. So when I export these records at this level that have been selected, basically, if we were to look at our let's see, priority range 265 to 269. Okay, brought these in. I'm selecting all, and I want to do export here. So what it's going to do is when I export these records, it's going to create this CSV file for me that I can now, and of course it's going to put in all these extra fields that I didn't, I don't need to send to letterprinting.net. Now again, this is a scenario where we're sending records to what we call ITI or letterprinting.net that's going to print your records for you. Some people are using other mediums or other companies to print their records. But they basically have to send them these records. And it's got the order ID. It's got the the particular record ID over here. It's got the land information. It's got the persons. Let's see over here. Here's where we have the first name, last name. All this information, of course, would be filled in. And of course, we have the mailing address information here. So you then would, of course, save this file, just like you would save your file that you're going to send out every week. But this would be your 200 records. And once you send that to letterprinting.net or whoever might be sending out those records, don't forget to come in here and change the status of these now from prospect. Remember, you want to change them to prospect to mail letter 1, because if you don't do that, next week you'll send out the same 200 records. All right, so that's basically the process. Now, what we recommend, and I share this as much as possible, I recommend that you only bring into Investment Dominator. I'm going to clear my search here. I recommend that you only bring into Investment Dominator the prospect records that you're going to process that week, that you don't bring, 10,000 records in and have to manage them all in Investment Dominator. When I import into Investment Dominator, I'm going to import a file here. When I choose my file, I am going to choose a file that only has the number of records I'm going to process for that week. So if it's 500, my file is going to contain 500 records. So again, I'm going to choose that file from my computer. I'm going to say upload list. It's going to come back in here in the land deals, and those records will be in prospect status in the Investment Dominator. So when I'm done at the level, since these are all of my prospects that I'm going to mail out, once I've mailed out my CSV, I've imported that file, and I do my generate documents at this level, I'm going to send them this CSV associated with my prospect records. It should have 500 records in there if that's the number I chose in my import. And of course, I'm going to send them my letter template and my envelope. And then I'm going to use the bulk update records status to do the same thing I was doing. And it said we're going to move 53 records. Now in my case, it would be 500 records from prospect status to mail letter 1 status. So that's the way I recommend you do it each week. You only import into Investment Dominator the records you're going to print out that you're going to process that week. However, like I tell the folks that I coach right now, hey, this is your business. So you do it however it's comfortable for you. If you want to bring in 18,000 records, we can show you how to manage those, 18,000 records from one week to the next, just like I did, only sending out 250 or 500 records, whatever it is. But just for clarity and for, I think it's cleaner if you just bring into Investment Dominator those records that you want to send out each week. But some people really don't want to manage that process from one week to the next. They want all their records in Investment Dominator. They feel like they're safe there, and so they will bring them all in. That's perfectly fine. It's not a bad thing. So that is about what we have time for today, unless we have any more questions coming in. This has been a pretty quiet group. Okay. Question from Kathy. We'll see if we can answer this here in the next couple of minutes, Kathy. So, okay. How to keep the database clean, for example, if you mail 500 records and get only callbacks, do you just keep letting the records build up for each list you import? Oh, yes, okay, so you only got a few callbacks. Yeah, and you don't have to worry about that, Kathy, and let me tell you, you do want to let the records build up, because remember, each week, what you're doing after you bring those prospects in and you mail them out, that's a very good question, is they're going into mail letter 1 status. So keep in mind that the Investment Dominator sends records. We've got a cloud, so it's a database in the cloud. So we got unlimited storage. So yes, keep letting the mail letter 1 build up, especially if you're marketing to that particular county. If you choose to market to that county, just don't worry about deleting any of these. I keep them around, and the reason I keep them around is because Investment Dominator is going to put this in order by mail letter 1, but it's going to be by the date this record was created. If I go into this record, it's a date created right here, right up top, right? So it's going to keep these in order based on that date. I want these in order by that date, because let's say a year from now or a year and a half from now, if I want to go back and I want to mail to these people all over again, maybe 6 months later, I want to start mailing to a good county that I found, and I want to use my mail letter 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, so many records from my mail letter 1. I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to change the status from the mail letter 1 back to prospect, right? So if I change these back to prospect status, that means they're going to go out with my next week's mailing. So I may be mailing out some brand new neutral letters, but I'm remailing to a county or to individuals that I mailed to 6 months ago or a year, and they didn't have anything to say, but maybe situations have changed in their life, and now they're ready to accept my offer. So you don't have to worry about cleaning up the database. You just let those records go to mail letter 1 status, and you'll be fine. You'll be glad that you did. All right, you're very welcome. Thank you, people, for getting on here, and we are going to be back here Thursday at 12 noon. All right, and want to give you this thought as we depart from you tonight. Perseverance is a great element of success. If you only knock long enough and loud enough at the gate, you are sure to wake up somebody. All right. That's a quote from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Perseverance is a great element of success. I like that. If you only knock loud enough and long enough at the gate, you're sure to wake up somebody. So continue on and send those letters out. Continue to get your analysis done and send those offers out. We answered on the other call. I wouldn't be sending any letters out past Saturday. I'm not sending anything out for the rest of this year. It's going to be Christmas time and then New Year's. All right. So everybody have a great evening, and we will see you back here Thursday at 12 noon. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.